Hi, my name is Thomas Glackin. I'm 7 years old, and my mom and dad are going to tell you my story.
Hi, this is Tom and Kate Glackin. I've been coming to the Church of the Intercessor for 12 years. That's when I met Kate. She introduced me to this church. She's been coming here for
30.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just here to give our son's testimony and our journey through his cancer diagnosis. He was diagnosed with rhabdomyosarcoma at the age of 4 years old.
We found out when he was 4. I had just started nursing school with 3 kids, and Tom was going to start a new job. And we had Thomas, who was the most easygoing little guy ever, loved monster trucks, loved just playing in dirt, never complained, never whined about anything. And then all of a sudden one day he just started whining and crying and just acting completely miserable.
Yeah, well, I noticed there was something wrong because I was working overnights and Kate was at school, I think, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, when I would come home, I would get Madeline ready for school. And then when we would get her out to school, me and Thomas and Reagan would take a walk uptown. And he used to be always a block ahead, running ahead, pulling Reagan in the wagon. And then one day, and like from that one day onwards, we'd go for a walk and he would be like a block behind us, panting and puffing, saying he's tired, you know. So then he started complaining of a sore ear.
Yeah.
And he would wake up in the middle of the night, turning off all the air conditioners in the house, complaining that it was hurting his head. So we took him to the doctors, and the doctor was like, "Oh, there's an ear infection there. Here's some drugs." You know, so we thought it was working, and then, you know, it was just...
Yeah, and then we went
like he would have good days, and then he would have bad days, and then, you know, it was just complaining that his head hurts, and he was like starting to drool at certain points.
We got blood work taken from him, from the doctor. I said, you know, something's really wrong. It's not an ear infection, it has to be something else. She said she'll run blood work and let us know. She ran the blood work. She says to me, "Oh, it's behavioral." She said it could be behavioral because he's, you know, he's a toddler.
The work came back clear,
everything looks good. It's clear. So I was like, thank God for good news. But so we went to Maryland to visit my brother. He's hysterical, crying for 3 hours. I take him to some urgent care down there, and they're like, "Oh, there's still remnants of an ear infection." I'm like, okay. So they give him something stronger, and then when we got back up to New York, I said, "Let's go to our regular doctor again." He says lymphadenitis, and I'm like, lymphadenitis? Okay, that could be swelling because he's a little swollen on his cheek. So we're like, all right. So it's nothing worse. It's lymphadenitis, okay. And then it took us like, I think 4 trips to the doctor. And then finally we took him to the emergency room Labor Day weekend. I said, "Tom, I'm going in the emergency room with him. He's complaining his eye hurts now." And that was like weird. And, you know, it's not just an ear. It's not lymphadenitis. It's not swelling. So we ended up going to Cohen's, and they did a scan. And I remember it took like a while for them to come back with news, and I saw the nurse sitting at the nursing station, and she just like didn't say anything, like, and it was like a mass the size of an orange, and that just was like the worst, you know, that obviously was the worst night. But then we were in the hospital for 2 days. They were like, "Oh, it could be a cyst, we could drain it."
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay. They were wrong. It was, when the biopsy came back, it was cancer. And I had my friends waiting, a couple of my friends and 2 of my cousins in the waiting area with us at 10 o'clock at night when Thomas was, you know, recovering. I see the doctor at the door saying he's ready, and I said, "Oh, how does it look?" And now this is 10 o'clock at night, and he literally just said to me, "It has oncological structures." And I just like dropped to the floor.
And he said, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, I'm sorry, it had an oncological structure, so we found out that he had cancer like that. Deacon Eddie showed up to the hospital, and I remember being like, oh gosh, like I just want to go to bed and just want to cry myself to sleep tonight. But it was the best thing that could have happened, right? Eddie just sat there and prayed with us and just like cried with us. And he was there. Like it was amazing for him to just show up.
Even with Deacon Eddie being there and him telling us and sharing with us the word of God and saying, listen, that's not God's plan. God's plan isn't for Thomas to be succumbed by this illness. He says his plans for greater things for Thomas. And I remember just, feeling a relief. It was nice to have Deacon Eddie there. I think he made that news a whole lot better.
And then my brother's girlfriend, thank God, she worked at Sloan Kettering, or she knew people at Sloan Kettering, and she said, we're going to get Thomas to Sloan. And then we ended up getting home, like leaving the hospital, and we ended up going to Sloan the next day. We got in with like one of the best doctors, and we got the results back, and just it was literally you can't describe it when you like there was nothing worse than finding out your son has cancer, because we had no idea. That was the last thing we could have expected. We were like ear infection, lymphadenitis, cyst, everything, and we were going with it. We're like, okay, it's this, it's this, it's just this. Oh, it's behavioral, okay. Yeah. It was just such a horrible, fragile time for us, and we kept coming to Intercessor, and Thomas had Sunday school. And like I remember being all concerned, if he's neutropenic, which means that he has low white blood cells, you can catch an infection easily. Like, can we still take him to church? And like just being worried about everything. So we would come on Sundays, and he had Sunday school, and Audrey had a lesson planned, and she didn't know Thomas was going to be there, and she had a lesson planned, and it was Jesus has the power to heal. And so she asked the class, she said, oh, does anybody know somebody that needs healing? So of course, Madeline, my brother has cancer. And Thomas was like sitting next to her. And Audrey said that Thomas said, I do have cancer, but I'm already healed. And she came up and hugged me, and we like cried together. And I still have a picture of Thomas holding the Sunday school paper, and I still have that paper that says, Jesus has the power to heal. So it's just like constantly reflecting upon how God carried us through that whole time. Yeah. And then we were also in Sloan Kettering one day, and I'm holding him, and he's getting the chemo. And I said to him, oh, Tom, this really stinks. And we because he was crying because he just got poked, and I'm holding him. He says to me, I don't see Jesus, but I feel him hugging me. And he said it like right at that moment. And I'm like, is this kid serious? Like, this is just unbelievable. Like his own story, like that God was like unfolding his plan before us, like how Thomas was being healed. He was able to feel God's grace in all the hardest times, and we were able to also. Everybody in the Intercessor Church just pouring out support and love and helping in any way they could. And just the prayers, like the second they found out, everybody here found out that Thomas had cancer. It was like a 24/7 chain of prayers. Like he was covered in prayer over and over again. And they had time slots. And it's just like, we're so thankful for everybody that did that, because I know it could have been, a different outcome. But we look at him now, and it's like 3 years later, and he doesn't even want to talk about it. He doesn't want to even, the only time we talk about it is when we have to go for scans. It was every 3 months, and now we're at the point where we can go every 6 months. Mm-hmm. We have such confidence in knowing that he's healed and that he's recovered. I remember it was actually the first chemotherapy he went through, but that night he got so sick. I mean, he was like throwing up on the way home, and just, it was horrible. And now I had Reagan, who was crying in her crib, and I had to tell Madeline I said, Madeline, can you get in the crib with Reagan and lay with her? I remember posting it. I was like, my 6-year-old is taking care of my 1-year-old because my 4-year-old needs me the most right now. And that was just it. It was like Madeline stepped up to the plate that whole year. She just was like on big sister duty and took over everything. And she doesn't get enough credit for it because she just went with the flow. She was a rock star. Thomas fell in the bathroom and he had like a big, huge welt on his like butt. And I was like, I called the doctor and I'm like, something's up. And they said, oh, you have to bring him in. It turns out that he needed blood and platelets. So we rushed there on Halloween and I was like, oh, this is crazy. So the next day, Madeline came home from school and she was like, I was at the nurse because I got like a cut on my finger. And she was just craving the attention and I felt bad for her, but I was so stressed out. I was like, Madeline, your brother just got blood yesterday from somebody else. And I remember saying that and being like, oh, that's not a good idea to say that. But she just was so incredible. She just took the ball and ran with it. It was 11 months of treatment, and it was like heavy chemo. There was we were there 2 days a week, but every third week he would come home with a backpack on for hydration, so he would have to hydrate all night, and we'd have to wake up every hour on the hour with a urinal. And then we did 28 days of proton therapy, radiation therapy to his face in New Jersey. So we had to drive to New Jersey every day. Tom was supposed to start a new job, and then he couldn't, and it was better pay and all this, and we had just bought a house. So we were just starting on our feet, and then we get hit with this. And so he had to stay at his job that he was at that was lower paying, but he had the benefits, so we needed that. And
we had the help from Lola and Grandpa too, and everybody from the community. So we knew that Madeline and Reagan were looked after and they were in good hands, which made it a lot better because I think it was good having both of us there. We balanced each other out because when one person was having a bad day, the other person was actually feeling good, so we were uplifting each other.
It was like that. It was God really made it manageable in the fact that if I was so worried or I was overwhelmed that I didn't sleep, Tom was building me up or bringing, and then it would be it was a really good teamwork through that time. It was but no, we're going to get through this. I kept in touch with the girls from nursing school, but it turned out that some of them were doing their clinical rotations on the pediatrics floor at Sloan Kettering. And I remember being this is amazing. I'm so happy that you guys are here. You can see Thomas. I get to see you guys. And then after they were only there till about 3 o'clock. I remember going into the room and just sobbing, how messed up is this? I did not see this coming. I was supposed to be on rotation with these girls, helping others, not my own son, Thomas is cancer free, and that's all that mattered. And now we got right back on the horse, and now I'm a nurse, and it was just God's timing. I missed the whole pandemic, so that helped too with it being a new nurse. All my friends were swamped, and I wasn't there yet. So I feel like God just had this covering over our family, he just is amazing,
Yeah. We bought a new house, and it was a fixer-upper house, so. And I just got it to the state where it was livable, but there was a lot of work to do in it yet. If Kate had the kids out, maybe I would do something. It was tough to get any work done to the house because you don't want him breathing in any dust and dirt and mold or whatever and make him even sicker. We were living in a half-finished house, and she was like, oh, well, my mom kind of wrote a letter to this TV show, George to the Rescue. I hate cameras. Hate it. It was a nightmare for. I don't even want to sound ungrateful, but it was I was like Thomas for this interview. I was Yeah, but the guy showed up with the cameras and they were just interviewing us and asking us questions. You know, they were like, "Oh, we're just going to interview you. You're in a pool now of a couple other couples. We just want to find out your story, see how the family is. We'll go over a few things." And then there's a knock on the door, and I'm like, "Who's that?" I'm thinking it's my father-in-law over. Like, I was like, "Is that your dad?" We got up and we answered the door, and sure enough, there was George.
I know, it was the best.
We didn't even think it was going to happen.
I know, it was literally such a relief for you.
Yeah, he says, "You just relax." He says, "I'm going to make sure you don't have to do anything to the house."
That was such a blessing. That was a blessing from God.
You know, and we are blessed. We're blessed to be surrounded by good friends, good family. Because even, you know, every 3 weeks when Thomas would have to go through his heavy doses of chemo, you know, Kate's bunch of friends and the people from Floral Park, you know, they always made sure that Thomas had something special waiting for him on the lawn every time we came home. Like, we came home one day and there was sharks all over huge stuffed sharks lying all over the lawn. You know, like things like that just brought a smile to his face through his toughest episodes in chemo.
The outpouring of support, you're just so grateful for it and just so thankful, and the prayers and the everything. Like, it's overwhelming, and you don't even know like how to, like, because we can't thank the church community, our Floral Park community, and our own family members and friends like enough. It was just, if it wasn't for all of like you guys and all of our friends and family members, it would have been so much more difficult, because it would have been so much harder to, you know, even at Sloan, you see people taking the siblings with them. And we never had to take Madeline with us. You know, somebody was always there. We never had to take Madeline or Reagan. The one time we did take them, it was a complete nightmare. We went to New Jersey for radiation, and I said it was his first trip, and it was like right around Christmas time, and he was sick as a dog, and he was in the hospital for almost 3 days or 4 days, and on the 4th day, the doctor said, "Okay, he really needs to get this radiation today, so we're going to let him go. His counts are up, like his white blood cells were up, so we're going to let you go to New Jersey for radiation because he really needs to get it today." And it's his first treatment, and he did great, you know. Unfortunately, like, he had to get anesthesia every single day for 28 days, which was a nightmare in itself, because you're saying literally good night, and then you're handing your baby over, and then you'd wait for him to wake up. And so this particular time, the girls came with us. We get back to the hotel. Madeline's so excited. Reagan's jumping on the bed. And and Thomas just felt awful. He's just burning up. He's so hot. And I'm thinking to myself, great, now I'm in New Jersey. What do I do? So I'm thinking to myself, well, great, now I'm in a strange place. The girls are with me. Madeline had locked herself in the bathroom, hysterical crying, because now she knows like how flustered I am, and I'm crying, and I really, that night, I really thought maybe he wasn't going to make it, because it was just, he was so weak from being in the hospital for 4 days, and then getting radiation, proton therapy might have just like, so I remember like throwing him in the car by myself and rushing to the nearest hospital, like St. Peter's Hospital. Finally, we get in there, the emergency, like, we get checked in. They took his blood, they checked his counts were still good, and the fever went down, and we were able to go back home. And I just remember being so thankful that this fever went down, because he was blazing hot. Ever since like that point, after radiation therapy was over, he got the clear scans, and, you know, it was just more chemo, and then finally it was this last one, and we couldn't believe we made it.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe we made it through, and he got his port out on his 5th birthday. The only day scheduled that they had open was May 28th, and they said, or else he would have to wait a week. And he did not want to wait a week. He wanted that thing out. And I remember we planned his 5th birthday party at my mom's house, and Pokemon was going to come. And I remember thinking to myself, I hope he feels okay after the surgery. Like, we were just so overwhelmed with excitement that it was finally over. We scheduled the party on his birthday, and he was ready to party. I'm telling you, it was like nothing you've ever seen. He got the poured out and partied. The clown at the birthday party was a pediatric cancer survivor. He was like, when I heard that it was just everything aligned, and it was just incredible. All of like God just had us the whole way through, and then to tie it up with the birthday party with the clown who had pediatric cancer and is now 30 or whatever years old. It just goes to show you that, life goes on and it gets better, and God is so good, and, it's a miracle. And I remember telling Father Brett too, like even weeks before, that he was cancer free, and we're just waiting now, and the whole congregation coming around us and praying and thanking the Lord. I have that picture.
It said Thomas is cancer free. The best.
Yeah.
The best.
The best ever.
So,
See you later.
what we want to do is give thanks, but to see a mom who persevered, to see a church who committed to prayer to persevere, and that God has the victory. Amen? Amen. So let's just give God the glory and thanks. Amen. What I can tell you is God's going to use Thomas mightily, and he's going to be a healing touch to all those he encounters. So we love you.
Thank you guys. Seriously,
It's just like you couldn't ask for a better church community. Just the outpouring of support was just amazing and incredible, and we're just.
I know. I remember
touched by
feeling
everybody.
Yeah, I remember feeling the relief when you were telling me about like the 24-hour prayer going on in the church. It was just, when you know that your son's getting that kind of protection, it's just. It's overwhelming.
Especially when you're going through it as a parent, and you're praying, obviously, because that's what we rely on. I don't know how people do it without God, honestly. I don't know. I pray a million times a day, Jesus, please help me. But it's amazing to see God's blessings, it kind of we just picked up, Thomas is this healthy, happy kid who loves hockey and soccer and just loves sports and loves playing with his friends and his cousins, and the girls are great, everybody is happy and healthy, and we got to our destinations where we need to go, and it's just incredible. It's amazing. When Thomas was losing his hair, my brother,
Uncle Billy, came over and he was like, I want to be the first person to shave his head. Yeah, because we wanted to shave his head just because he was going to start losing his hair.
So he shaved his head, and then Liam shaved his head, and then my nephew Matthew shaved his head, and then Spencer shaved his head, and then Tom was like, I'm going to let Thomas shave my head.
Kate left. I don't know where you went. You went out with the girls, and I said to Thomas, I says, you think I should shave my head? He was there, yeah. I says, well, do you want to shave my head? And he was all excited. So, me and him went, we got the shavers out, and he started shaving my head. And I remember when I finally got it all balded off, and he says, Dad, this is the best thing you could have ever done for me. No, he was a good kid. He was great.
He was,
and he was actually what brought us through it, because he was just so funny in the hospital doing silly things.
Dancing.
Even when it was just he was making people laugh.
Pole surfer, and we'd be running through the hallways with it, and everybody would be there's Tom O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Shark Man. Even the doctor came in one day with shark. It was so cool. It was just everybody was just incredible. Everybody from church.
Just the church family, the friends.
I want
to
name every single person,
I know,
but I'd be here naming every
even,
single person.
Yeah, because you left somebody out, because everybody does.
Church of the Intercessor has just been such a blessing to us.
My name is Madeline.
my name is Reagan.
I'm related to Thomas.
I'm
related to Thomas.
He's my brother.
He's my brother.
Do you want to?
I was a good girl.
I wasn't there, so I didn't really get to see them that much. But Aunt Jessa or my or Lola were like babysitters, aunts and uncles, cousins used to take like care of me. They used to watch me. What you, Reagan?
I love Thomas so much because he's the best brother in the whole wide world. We're always missing Thomas because he was gone too much.
Jesus is very special and he loves me so much and he loves everybody and he's our Savior, the Son of God.
Jesus is the one that heals us and takes care of us. Thomas, I'll move. And you could say something in the microphone too. With me. With me. Jesus.
Well, to me, Jesus means. Well, to me, Jesus means like everything, love.
Means healing, right?
Healing, like Thomas, he did to Thomas, and yeah,
Remember the blue.
a lot. That's a wrap for today.
That's a wrap for today.
See you later, folks.
See you later, folks.
Happy Easter. Good Friday.
Good Friday. Are we going to be on TV, Mom?